Greetings, I'm Captain Kevin Smith, and I am here to talk about my book, The Sonic Warrior, Chronicles of a Top Gun Pioneer. Now, this book informs the reader or listener of a fascinating and significant chapter in aviation history where supersonic flight first became possible. National defense was at stake, yet humans had never performed in such a complex and dangerous environment where high velocities and G-forces were the order of the day. Sonic warriors stepped up to these challenges and were successful. So let me point out some of the challenges that are highlighted in my book, The Sonic Warrior. In order for the Navy to perform well, they needed to have high-speed airplanes as part of the carrier task force. They accomplished this rather difficult challenge by fielding the F-8 Crusader. F-8 Crusader was one of the first aircraft to fly supersonically, and it was also the first aircraft to fly faster than 1,000 miles per hour. In order for an airplane to fly supersonically, there had to be certain aerodynamic features. Now, these aerodynamic features made it kind of difficult to get to a landing speed that was slow enough and the aircraft was stable enough in order to land on an aircraft carrier. The other challenge that we had relates to the kind of aircraft carriers that we first had available in this country. Now, these aircraft carriers were medium size and they came out of World War II. It was up to the pilots of that era to figure out how we can safely operate supersonic aircraft from smaller size aircraft carriers, and we were able to do that. Now, the other challenge that I faced, the F-4 Phantom crews needed help. The F-4 Phantom was the first aircraft with modern missile systems. The thinking was that with these modern missiles aboard, the need for close-in combat was not going to be necessary, and so the flight crews were not trained for close-in air combat. They were trained primarily for long-range intercepts. What happened was that during the early stages of the Vietnam War, during a air campaign that is kind of famously known as Rolling Thunder, that assumption proved to be wrong. What we needed then was a crash course in close-in air combat training for the F-4 Phantom crews. I was involved in standing up that capability to provide the F-4 Phantom crews with close-in air combat training, and I did so when I was flying the F-8 Crusader. Now, the F-8 Crusader happened to be an airplane that closely resembled the MiG-21 in aerodynamic performance, so it was a good simulator for air combat engagements with the MiG-21 aircraft. Somewhat later, the F-14 Tomcat was being introduced, and we were basically running into the same problem with the F-14 flight crews. They were not trained as well in close-in air combat as they could have been or should have been, and so I was asked to help out in that area as well. I was actually the commander of the F-8 squadron aboard the USS Constellation during the time that the Constellation's Air Wing was first deploying the F-14 Tomcat. We were able to provide the F-14 flight crews with close-in air combat training for the duration of the deployment. By the end of the cruise, I believe these F-14 flight crews were the best fighter pilots in the service. And I would go even farther and say the best fighter pilots in all services. Now, that leads me to the last challenge, and that is launching the first deployed Top Gun unit. I was the commander of the first deployed Top Gun unit, and we were deployed aboard the USS Constellation, and I was flying the FA Crusader. And we actually stood up a Top Gun unit that was able to perform this during the buildups and the duration of the deployment. In standing up a aviation unit with this capability was actually fairly difficult to do. We came up with some rather novel solutions to some of the problems that we were facing or would face if we were going to be able to provide this kind of support for the F-14 community. One of the challenges that we had required us to have priority launch and recovery, as well as priority in, we call it priority tanking. Basically what that means is that we have priority in the in-flight refueling resources that are typically airborne during flight operations when an aircraft carrier operates at sea. It extended our range, it extended our time on station. It enabled us to engage in a number of air combat engagements during the course of a single mission. It did all kinds of things that helped everyone aboard the carrier and as a member of the Air Wing. I did, along with my squadron, all of us worked together to face these challenges head on, and we met them and we overcame all of these challenges, and we wound up as the top performing squadron in the Pacific Fleet. Thank you for listening, and thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy the Sonic Warrior, Chronicles of a Top Gun Pioneer, and we will talk to you again soon.